What would you do if a letter with a different name changed everything you thought you knew about your family? For 12-year-old Lily, cleaning out her grandmother's attic uncovers a mysterious envelope that wasn't meant to be found. A stranger appears, a locket contains secrets, and suddenly the grandmother who baked cookies and told bedtime stories becomes someone Lily doesn't recognize at all. Who is Rose Miller? Who is Jay? And why does Lily's mother look so afraid when the questions start? Some family secrets are buried for a reason, but Lily is about to discover that the truth can't stay hidden forever. Lily huffed as she carried another heavy box down from the dusty attic. Sweat made her brown curls stick to her forehead. Moving Grandma Rose to the nursing home meant cleaning out 50 years of stuff from her little blue house. "Need a break, honey?" Mom asked, sorting through old photo albums at the kitchen table. "I'm okay," Lily said, though her arms ached. She loved her grandma too much to complain. Besides, at 12 years old, she was strong enough to help. The attic was like a treasure cave. Lily had already found 3 cool things: a record player, a fancy hat with feathers, and a snow globe from a place called Niagara Falls. But there were still 5 more boxes to bring down. As Lily grabbed the next box, something fell from the ED shelf above. A small wooden box tumbled to the floor with a thud. The lid popped open, revealing a brass lock that had broken off. "What's this?" Lily whispered to herself, kneeling down. The box was carved with tiny flowers and looked very old. Grandma had never shown it to her before. Inside was a yellowed envelope, thin and delicate like onion skin. Lily carefully pulled it out. The address read, Rose Miller, 42 Oakwood Drive. That was Grandma's house, but Miller wasn't her last. Name, Grandma was Rose Wilson. Lily turned the envelope over. The back had fancy handwriting that said, "From Jay," and a date from 50 years ago. The flap was torn open. Lily slid out the letter and unfolded it slowly, afraid it might crumble. "Dear Rosie, I hope this finds you. I've waited for your call. Days have passed since we spoke about our secret and what we left behind. I still believe we can make things right. I'll be at the usual spot this Sunday at noon. Please come. I miss you more than words can say. Always yours." Jay. Lily read it twice. What secret? Who was Jay? And why did the letter call Grandma by a different last name? A floorboard creaked behind her. "What did you find, sweetie?" Mom stood in the attic doorway. Lily jumped, quickly folding the letter. "Just an old box." Mom came closer and saw the envelope. Her face changed. The smile disappeared, replaced by a tight line. "Where did you get that?" It fell from the shelf. "It has Grandma's address but calls her Rose Miller." "Who's Miller?" Mom grabbed the envelope too quickly. "Just some junk mail, old stuff, nothing important." She stuffed the letter in her pocket. But it looked really old. "And who's Jay?" Lily asked. "Nobody important." Mom's voice sounded strange. "Let's finish up here. Pizza for dinner?" But Lily knew that voice. It was Mom's "don't ask more questions" voice. While Mom went back downstairs, Lily noticed the letter had fallen out of the wooden box. Carefully, she slid it into her back pocket. That night, after pizza and ice cream, Lily sat cross-legged on her bed. She pulled out the letter and read it again. Her sweet grandma, who baked cookies and told funny stories, had a secret. Grandma Rose always said, "No secrets in this family, only surprises waiting to be shared." Was Miller Grandma's maiden name? No, that was Jones. Lily had done a family tree project for school last year. But maybe Grandma had been married before Grandpa Wilson. Lily tried to imagine her grandma young, with dark hair instead of silver, dancing with a mysterious man whose name started with J. Lily, stared at her corkboard covered with photos. Her favorite was from last Christmas. Lily and Grandma Rose in matching red sweaters, flour on their noses from baking. Grandma's eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled, just like Lily's did. "What aren't you telling me, Grandma?" Lily whispered to the photo. She tucked the letter under her pillow and turned off her lamp. Outside, the moon cast silver light through her window. Tomorrow was Saturday, visiting day at Sunny Pines Nursing Home. Lily would bring cookies, play cards with Grandma, and maybe find the perfect moment to ask about Rose Miller and the mysterious J.A.'s she drifted off to sleep. Lily couldn't shake the feeling that everything she knew about her grandmother might change. The letter felt like the first piece of a puzzle she didn't know existed until today. And somehow, Lily was sure that finding the rest of the pieces mattered more than anything. Saturday morning arrived with golden sunshine streaming through Lily's curtains. She jumped out of bed and headed straight to the kitchen. If she was going to visit Grandma Rose, she needed to bring the special chocolate chip cookies they always made together. "Can I bake Grandma's cookies?" Lily asked her mom, who was sipping coffee at the table. Mom smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Sure, honey. I'll help." They worked side by side, measuring flour and cracking eggs. The secret ingredient was a dash of cinnamon, something Grandma had whispered to Lily years ago. "Just between us, bakers," she'd said with a wink. As the sweet smell filled the kitchen, Lily thought about the letter hidden under her mattress. Should she ask Mom about it again? One look at Mom's tight shoulders made her decide against it. An hour later, they pulled into the Sunny Pines parking lot. The nursing home was nicer than most, with bright hallways and big windows, but it still smelled like medicine and too strong air freshener. Lily clutched the cookie tin, her stomach fluttery. With nerves, "There's my favorite girl!" Grandma Rose called from her armchair by the window. Her silver hair was neatly styled, and she wore the blue cardigan Lily had given her for Christmas. Lily rushed over for a hug, breathing in Grandma's familiar scent of lavender and peppermint. "I brought our cookies." "Well, isn't that wonderful?" Grandma patted the chair beside her. "Deal us a hand of gin rummy while we snack." Mom kissed Grandma's cheek. "I'll get some coffee from the cafeteria and be back soon." As Mom left, Lily opened the tin. "I used the secret ingredient." "I can always tell," Grandma said, biting into a cookie. "Perfect!" Lily shuffled the cards, working up courage. The letter seemed to burn in her pocket where she'd tucked it that morning. "Grandma, I found something yesterday in your attic." A knock interrupted her. A nurse with bright pink scrubs poked her head in. "Rose, you've got another visitor. Your first besides family since you moved in." Grandma looked puzzled. "Who is it?" "An older gentleman. Says he's an old friend." Before the nurse could say more, a tall man with a wooden cane appeared in the doorway behind her. He had a full head of white hair and the brightest blue eyes Lily had ever seen. He wore a plain gray suit that looked too big for his thin frame. When he spotted Grandma Rose, those blue eyes filled with tears. "Rosie," he said, his voice rough with emotion. The cookie in Grandma's hand dropped to her lap. Her face went white as the sheets on her bed. "James?" she whispered, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. The man nodded slowly. "It's been 50 years, Rosie." The room went quiet, except for the ticking of the wall clock. Lily looked between them, confused. The way they stared at each other, like they were the only two people in the world, made her feel like she was witnessing something very private. Just then, Mom returned with her coffee. She stopped in the doorway, nearly dropping her cup. "What are you doing here?" she asked the man, her voice shaking. "Hello, Catherine," the man, James, said politely. "It's good to see you again." "Again?" Lily blurted. "You know him, Mom?" Mom didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed Lily's arm. "We need to leave. Now." "But we just got here," Lily protested. "Your grandmother needs rest," Mom insisted, though Grandma Rose looked more awake than Lily had seen her in months. "Catherine, please," Grandma said, "let her stay." "No, Mom, not now. Not like this." Mom's grip on Lily's arm tightened. James stepped back. "I can come another time." "No," Grandma Rose said firmly. "You've found me after all these years. Don't leave yet." Mom pulled Lily toward the door. "We'll come back tomorrow, Mom, when you've had time to think." As Mom dragged her out, Lily twisted around for one last look. Through the doorway, she saw James reach into his pocket and pull out something small and shiny. He placed it in Grandma's trembling hand. Grandma clutched it to her chest like it was the most precious thing in the world. A tear slid down her wrinkled cheek. In the car, Mom gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. Lily stared out the window, thinking about the man with the blue eyes and the thing he'd given Grandma Rose. "Who is James?" Lily finally asked. Mom started the car. "Someone from a long time ago. But how does he know you?" Mom pulled out of the parking lot, her eyes fixed on the road. "That's complicated, Lily. Some stories aren't mine to tell." Lily slumped in her seat, more confused than ever. First, the letter signed by J, and now this man named James. As they drove home in silence, one thing became clear. Her grandma's secret past was bigger than Lily could have imagined. The rest of Saturday crawled by in uncomfortable silence. Mom busied herself with laundry and phone calls, avoiding Lily's questions. By bedtime, Lily's frustration bubbled over. "It's not fair," she complained, sitting cross-legged on her bed, while Mom laid out clothes for Sunday. "Grandma is my grandma, too. Why won't anyone tell me what's going on?" Mom sighed and sat beside her. "Lily, there are some things about Grandma, Rose's life that are complicated. Adult stuff." "I'm not a baby," Lily protested. "I'm 12. "I know, honey." Mom tucked a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. "But some stories aren't mine to share. Grandma Rose has to decide when you're ready to hear them." Lily flopped back on her pillow. "Fine. Whatever." After Mom kissed her goodnight and closed the door, Lily pulled out the letter from under her mattress. She traced the faded handwriting with her finger. J had to be James. But what was the secret he mentioned? And what had they left behind? Unable to sleep, Lily tiptoed to the hallway. Mom's voice drifted from the living room. She was on the phone, speaking in the hushed tone grown-ups use when they don't want kids to hear. "I thought we agreed not to tell her," Mom was saying. "Mom has been through enough." "No, I don't think that's a good idea. What if Lily finds out? She's too young to understand." Lily crept back to bed, her mind racing. What was she too young to understand? And who was Mom talking to? "You look like you've been hit by a truck," Maya said at lunch on Monday. Maya had been Lily's best friend since kindergarten and never sugar-coated anything. Lily pushed her sandwich around on her tray. "Weird weekend." "Spill it," Maya demanded, leaning forward. Lily told her everything. The mysterious letter, James's appearance at the nursing home, and her mom's phone conversation. Maya's eyes widened. "This is like a movie. Your grandma's got a secret past." "But what kind of secret?" Lily wondered. Maya tapped her chin thoughtfully. We need to do some detective work. How? First, Maya said, lowering her voice, we Google Rose Miller after school. The rest of the day dragged. As soon as the final bell rang, they raced to the library computers. But searching Rose Miller brought up thousands of results, none that seemed connected to Grandma. Try Rose Miller plus the town name, Maya suggested. Still nothing useful. Disappointed, they walked to Lily's house. In her room, Lily pulled out the wooden box. I wish this thing could talk. Maya examined it closely. Hey, is the bottom supposed to wiggle like this? She pressed the corners of the box, and suddenly the bottom lifted. Lily, there's a false bottom. Underneath was a stack of yellowed newspaper clippings. Most were too faded to read, but one headline stood out in bold letters. Local diner waitress missing. Foul play suspected. The article was dated June 15, 1973. Beneath the headline was a grainy photo of a young woman with dark curly hair and a bright smile. A smile Lily recognized immediately. That's Grandma Rose, Lily gasped, but the caption under the photo read, Eliza Hampton, 22, last seen leaving Hampton's diner on June 10th. Lily and Maya stared at each other. Eliza Hampton? Maya whispered. That's not Rose Miller or Rose Wilson. 3. Different names? Lily's hands trembled as she carefully unfolded another clipping. This one was smaller. Search for missing waitress continues. Boyfriend questioned. There was no photo, but the article mentioned local mechanic James Miller being questioned repeatedly about Hampton's disappearance. James Miller, Lily breathed. Miller, like in the letter. James must have been Grandma's boyfriend, and maybe she took his last name? But why would she be in the newspaper as a missing person? Maya asked. And who's Eliza Hampton? Before Lily could answer, they heard the front door open. Mom was home early. Maya helped Lily quickly hide the clippings and fix the box. They pretended to be doing homework when Mom peeked in. Hi, girls. Everything okay? Just studying, Lily said, hoping her face didn't give anything away. After Maya left, Lily sat at her window, watching the sunset. The mystery had only deepened. Her grandma had been called Eliza Hampton and Rose Miller before becoming Rose Wilson. She'd been reported missing, and her boyfriend James had been questioned. By police, none of it made sense. The sweet grandma who taught her to bake cookies and told her bedtime stories couldn't be the same person as the missing waitress in the newspaper. Could she? That night, Lily dreamed of a young woman with dark curly hair running through unfamiliar streets, clutching something to her chest, looking over her shoulder in fear. When the woman turned around, she had Grandma Rose's eyes and Lily's own face. Lily woke up with a start, her heart pounding. The dream felt too real, like a memory that didn't belong to her. She pulled out the newspaper photo and studied it. In the moonlight, the woman, Eliza or Rose or whoever she was, looked so much like Lily herself that it was scary. "Who are you really, Grandma?" she whispered to the faded photograph. The next Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Lily needed answers, and the only people who had them were Grandma Rose and the mysterious James with the bright blue eyes. Somehow, she had to find a way to talk to them, without her mom standing guard. The week crept by slower than a turtle climbing uphill. Lily checked off each day on her calendar, counting down to Saturday. At school, she could barely focus on lessons. Her teacher, Ms. Garcia, had to call her name 3 times during math. "Earth to Lily," Maya whispered, poking her with a pencil. "You're in zombie mode again." "Sorry," Lily mumbled, "just thinking about Grandma." Finally, Saturday arrived. Lily had a plan. She'd asked Mom if she could visit Grandma alone while Mom ran errands. "I'm old enough to sit with Grandma by myself," she'd argued. To her surprise, Mom agreed. "I do need to pick up some things," Mom said. "I'll drop you off and come back in an hour." But Lily, no questions about James. "Your grandma needs peace and quiet." Lily crossed her fingers behind her back. "Of course not." When they arrived at Sunny Pines, Mom walked her to Grandma's room but didn't stay. "Perfect. There's my sweet girl," Grandma Rose called from her rocking chair by the window. She looked different today. Her cheeks had more color, and she'd put on lipstick. Around her neck hung a gold heart-shaped locket Lily had never seen before. "Hi, Grandma!" Lily hugged her, noticing how the sunlight made the locket gleam. "That's pretty. Is it new?" Grandma's fingers touched the locket. Her eyes got a faraway look. "No, dear. It's very, very old. But it's new to me again." Lily sat on the footstool at Grandma's feet. "What do you mean?" "This was once the most precious thing I owned," Grandma said softly. "I thought I'd never see it again." Lily's heart beat faster. "Is it from James?" Grandma's eyes widened. "You remember his name?" "He visited last week. The nurse said he was your first visitor besides family. He gave you something shiny. Was it the locket?" Grandma nodded slowly. "You're observant, just like your mother." "Can I see what's inside?" Lily asked. Grandma hesitated, then carefully opened the heart. Inside were two tiny photos. On the left was a handsome young man with dark hair and bright eyes. On the right was a baby with a wispy curl on top of its head. "Is that James?" Lily pointed to the man. "Yes," Grandma whispered. "A long time ago." "And is that Mom as a baby?" Lily asked, studying the infant's face. Grandma snapped the locket shut. "No, dear. It's time for my medicine now." She reached for the call button, and a nurse appeared almost instantly. While the nurse checked Grandma's blood pressure, Lily thought about the baby in the locket. If it wasn't Mom, who was it? "I need to rest now, sweetie," Grandma said after the nurse left. "Why don't you get a snack from the cafeteria? They have those chocolate puddings you like." Disappointed, Lily kissed Grandma's cheek and headed for the door. Grandma was hiding something big, and she wasn't ready to share it yet. In the hallway, Lily nearly bumped into someone. Looking up, she found herself staring into familiar bright blue eyes. "Hello there," James said with a kind smile. His cane tapped softly on the floor as he steadied himself. "You're Lily, aren't you?" Lily nodded, surprised he knew her name. "I'm James, an old friend of your grandmother's." "I know," Lily said. "I saw you last week. You gave Grandma the locket." James's eyes crinkled at the corners. "Sharp as a tack, aren't you? Just like her." "Like Grandma?" "Yes," he said, then added mysteriously, "You look just like her, you know." Before Lily could ask what he meant, a nurse called from down the hall. "Mr. Miller, your medication." James winked at Lily. "Duty calls. It was nice meeting you properly." "Lily!" As he walked away, Lily considered following him. But what would she say? "Excuse me, why was my grandma in the newspaper as a missing person 50 years ago? And why does she have 3 different names?" Instead, Lily wandered to the cafeteria and got a chocolate pudding. She sat alone at a small table thinking about James's words. "You look just like her." People always said Lily looked like Mom, with the same curly brown hair and green eyes. But Mom didn't look much like Grandma Rose, who had straight silver hair and blue eyes. In the old newspaper photo, though, young Eliza Hampton had dark curls. Could Lily look like the young version of her grandma? But James had seen Grandma recently, with her silver hair and wrinkles. So who did Lily look like? Unless a strange thought popped into Lily's head. James wasn't talking about Grandma Rose at all, but someone else. The baby in the locket, maybe? Lily's pudding remained untouched as a new theory formed in her mind. What if the baby wasn't Mom, but someone else entirely? Someone Lily had never met, but somehow looked just like. The ride home from Sunny Pines was quiet. Mom asked about Grandma, and Lily kept her answers simple, afraid her face might give away what she'd discovered. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, thinking about the locket and James's strange words. Sunday passed in a blur of homework and chores. By Monday afternoon, dark clouds gathered over town. The weather lady on TV warned about a big storm coming. "This could be a bad one," Mom said, checking the flashlight batteries. "They're saying possible tornadoes." By bedtime, rain pounded the roof and wind howled around the house like a hungry wolf. Lily pulled her blanket up to her chin as thunder boomed overhead. Around midnight, a crash jolted her awake. Her window exploded inward as a huge branch smashed through it. Rain and glass sprayed across her room. "Mom!" Lily screamed, jumping out of bed. Mom rushed in, grabbed Lily, and pulled her into the hallway. "Are you hurt?" Lily shook her head, though her heart hammered so hard it hurt. They huddled in the hallway as more crashes came from outside. 10 minutes later, Mom's phone rang. It was Mr. Parker from next door, checking if they were okay. "That big oak tree in your yard split in half," he told Mom. "One part went through your roof. You can't stay there tonight." Mom called Uncle Pete, but his power was out. All the hotels in town were full of people escaping flooded homes. Finally, they found a small motel on the edge of town with one room left. They packed overnight bags in the dark using flashlights. The wind nearly knocked them over as they ran to the car. Lily had never seen rain come down so hard. It was like driving through a waterfall. The motel was old and smelled like cigarettes, but it was dry. Lily and Mom collapsed on the lumpy beds, exhausted but too wired to sleep. "We'll check the house tomorrow," Mom said, staring at the water-stained ceiling. Morning came with clear skies, as if the storm had been just a bad dream. But when they drove home, the damage was all too real. A massive tree branch stuck out of Lily's bedroom like a giant's arm. Smaller branches had punctured the roof in other places, and water pooled on the floors. "We'll have to stay at the motel for a few days," Mom sighed. "Let me grab more clothes and my work stuff." As they gathered what they needed, Mom suddenly smacked her forehead. "My medication! I forgot it last night." They drove back home. While Mom searched the bathroom cabinet, Lily noticed water dripping from the ceiling in Mom's bedroom closet. "Mom, there's water coming in here." Mom rushed over. "Great, just what we need. Let me get a bucket." Left alone, Lily spotted something odd. The water had loosened a board in the top of the closet. She dragged a chair over and stood on it, peering into the gap. Something was hidden behind the loose board. Lily reached in and pulled out a small book with a faded cloth cover. It was wet at the edges, but still intact. On the first page, in careful handwriting, were the words, "Property of Rose Miller." Her heart racing, Lily quickly stuffed the book inside her jacket. This had to be Grandma's diary. But why was it hidden in Mom's closet? "What are you doing?" Mom asked, returning with a bucket. "Just checking how bad the leak is," Lily said, hoping her face didn't betray her. "It's pretty bad." Back at the motel, Mom had to make work calls, so Lily took her chance. She locked herself in the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub with the diary. The first entry was dated April 3, 1972. Dear Diary, Dad gave me this book for my 21st birthday. He says, a lady should write down her thoughts. If he knew my thoughts lately, he'd lock me in my room forever. All I think about is James, the way he smiles when he sees me, how his hands look when he's fixing a car. Dad says James Miller is trash because he works at the garage instead of going to college. But James is smarter than any college boy I've ever met. Lily flipped through the pages, reading quickly. The diary told the story of young Rose, who never once called herself Eliza, falling head over heels for James Miller. Rose's father owned Hampton's Diner, where she worked as a waitress. He hated James and forbade Rose from seeing him. June 1, 1972. James asked me to marry him today. We sat in his truck by the river, and he gave me a heart-shaped locket with his picture inside. He said someday we'd put our baby's picture next to his. I said yes right away, but we have to keep it secret. If Dad found out, more entries described secret meetings and Rose's father growing more suspicious. Then, the tone changed. February 14, 1973. I'm so scared. The doctor confirmed it today. I'm going to have a baby. James was happy. Said we'd get married right away. But when I got home, Dad could tell something was different. He kept asking questions, staring at me like he could see right through me. What will happen when he finds out? The next few entries detailed Rose's fear as she tried to hide her pregnancy while working at the diner. Then came an entry that made Lily's blood run cold. May 20th, 1973. Dad found out about the baby. He followed me to James's apartment. The things, he said, I can't even write them here. He threatened to have James arrested if I didn't give up the baby. Said he'd make sure James went to prison for a long time. Dad has friends in the police department. He could do it. But I won't give up my baby or James. Never. The final entry was dated June 9th, 1973. Tomorrow night, James and I leave for good. We'll take the baby somewhere safe, where no one will ever find us. I'm scared, but it's our only chance to be a family. That was the last entry. Lily stared at the blank pages that followed. According to the newspaper, Eliza Hampton disappeared the very next day. But her name was Rose Miller in the diary, not Eliza Hampton. And she was planning to run away with James and their baby, a baby that wasn't Mom. Lily closed the diary, her mind spinning with questions. Who was this baby? And where was it now? 3 days later, the roofers said it was safe to go home. Lily's bedroom was still a mess, so she slept on the living room couch. The whole time, the diary stayed hidden in her backpack. She'd read it, twice more, trying to connect all the pieces. According to Grandma's diary, she was pregnant in 1973, but Mom was born in 1978, 5 years after Grandma and Grandpa Wilson got married. So who was the baby mentioned in the diary? Lily had an unsettling feeling that she already knew the answer. I'm going to Maya's to study, Lily told her mom Saturday morning. It wasn't exactly a lie. She did plan to meet Maya, but studying wasn't on the agenda. Be back by dinner, Mom said, distracted by repair paperwork. Outside, Maya waited on her bike. Did you bring it? She asked. Lily patted her backpack. Got the diary and the newspaper clippings. They had made a plan. The newspaper mentioned Hampton's Diner, where Eliza, or Rose, had worked. Maybe someone there would remember her. Looked it up online, Maya said as they pedaled downtown. There's no Hampton's Diner anymore, but the building's still there. It's a laundromat now. 20 minutes later, they stood outside Rainbow Laundry on Main Street. The brick building looked old, with large windows across the front. Through the glass, Lily could see rows of washing machines and people folding clothes. How do we know this is the right place? Lily wondered. Maya pointed to a faded sign in the window. It showed a black and white photo of the building from decades ago. The words, Hampton's Home Cooking, Est 1950, arched over a picture of the diner with its counter and stools. That's it, Lily whispered, her heart beating faster. Inside, the laundromat smelled of detergent and warm clothes. An elderly woman with silver hair pulled into a bun was folding sheets at a table near the back. She looked up as the girls entered. Need to do laundry, dears? Actually, Lily said, gathering her courage. We're interested in the old diner that used to be here. The woman's eyebrows rose. Hampton's? My goodness, that's ancient history. What's got you interested in that old place? Lily hesitated, then decided on the truth, or part of it. We're doing a school project on local history. Well, isn't that something? The woman smiled. I'm Betty Larson. I worked at Hampton's for nearly 20 years. Lily's stomach flipped. This was better than they'd hoped for. She pulled out the newspaper clipping. Do you remember this? Betty put on glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. As she read the headline, her face paled. Lord have mercy, I haven't heard that name in decades. You knew Eliza Hampton? Maya asked eagerly. Knew her? I trained her myself when she started waiting tables. Betty gestured to a small table. Sit down, girls. My clothes can wait. They sat, and Betty studied the clipping again. It was a terrible business. One day, Eliza was serving coffee and pie, bright as sunshine. The next day, poof, gone without a trace. What happened to her? Lily asked, her mouth dry. Nobody knows for certain. Betty lowered her voice. Police thought her boyfriend did something to her. Poor boy was questioned for weeks, but they never found a body. Her boyfriend, was his name James? Lily asked. Betty nodded. James Miller. Fixed cars at Donovan's garage down the street. Handsome fellow. Always had eyes only for Eliza. She sighed. Some folks said they ran off together. Others said something more sinister happened. Lily's hands trembled as she pulled out a photo of Grandma Rose as a young woman, one she'd taken from a family album. Was this Eliza? Betty gasped and clutched her chest. Sweet Jesus, that's her! Eliza Hampton, plain as day. She looked up, sharply. Where did you get this? Is she alive? Lily and Maya exchanged glances. We can't really say, Maya answered carefully. Betty's eyes narrowed. This isn't for a school project, is it? Before Lily could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Where are you? It's almost dinner time. Lily hadn't realized how late it had gotten. We have to go, she said, quickly, gathering her things. Thank you for talking to us. Wait, Betty called as they hurried to the door. If you know something about Eliza, you should tell her father. Hampton's still alive, you know. Lives in the nursing home on Maple Street. Lily froze. What did you say? Old man Hampton, Eliza's father. He's still kicking at 98 years old. Mean as a snake, but sharp as a tack. Lily's mind reeled. Grandma's father, the man who had threatened James and tried to make Grandma give up her baby, was alive? And in the same town? Thanks again, Lily managed to say, before rushing outside with Maya. On their bikes, Maya pedaled close. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Grandma Rose is actually Eliza Hampton, Lily said. And she didn't disappear. She ran away and changed her name to Rose Miller. But why would the newspaper say she's missing if she just ran away? Because no one knew she ran away. They thought something bad happened to her. Lily's thoughts raced ahead. And later, she became Rose Wilson when she married Grandpa. But what about the baby? And James? What happened to them? Lily had no answers. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Mom, this one with a stern, "Come home now." "I have to go," Lily told Maya. "See you Monday." As Lily pedaled home, her mind whirled with new information. Not only was her grandmother once Eliza Hampton, but Eliza's father, the villain from the diary, was still alive. And somewhere out there was a baby, now grown up, who was part of this tangled mystery. A baby in a locket. A baby that might explain why James had said Lily looked just like her. When Lily arrived home, Mom was waiting with her arms crossed. "Where have you been? I've been worried sick." "Sorry," Lily mumbled. "Lost track of time at Maya's." Mom's eyes narrowed. "I called Maya's mom. She said you two left hours ago." Lily's stomach dropped. Caught in a lie. "Lily Elizabeth Wilson," Mom said in her serious voice. "What is going on?" "With you!" Before Lily could answer, the phone rang. Mom snatched it up, still glaring at Lily. "Hello? Yes, this is Catherine Wilson." Her face changed from angry to shocked. "How did you get this number?" Lily watched as Mom's knuckles turned white around the phone. "No, absolutely not," Mom said. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Yes, she's right here, but—" Mom covered the phone and whispered fiercely to Lily, "Go to your room." But Lily stood her ground. "Who is it?" "No one." "Go upstairs." Something in Mom's voice made Lily certain. "It's James, isn't it?" Mom's face confirmed it. After a moment of internal struggle, she held out the phone. "He wants to talk to you." Lily's heart hammered as she took the receiver. "Hello?" "Hello, Lily." James's gentle voice came through. "I hope I'm not causing trouble." "It's okay," Lily said, though Mom's face suggested otherwise. "I know you have questions," James said. "About your grandmother, about a lot of things." "I do," Lily admitted. "I'd like to answer them. Could you meet me at the nursing home tomorrow?" Before Lily could respond, Mom took the phone. "James, she's grounded. She won't be visiting anyone tomorrow." Lily caught bits of what James said next. Something about "deserves to know" and "the truth." "We agreed this would wait until she's older," Mom argued. More muffled words from James. Mom sighed deeply. "Fine. If you're determined to do this, you come here, tomorrow at 3, but I'll be present for the entire conversation." After hanging up, Mom turned to Lily. "You're still in trouble for lying about where you were today, but it seems we have bigger issues to discuss." That night, Lily barely slept. James was coming tomorrow to tell her, what? The truth about Grandma, about the baby in the locket? By 3 o'clock the next day, Lily's nerves were stretched thin. When the doorbell rang, she jumped. James stood on the porch, leaning on his cane. He carried an old photo album under his arm. "Hello, Catherine," he said to Mom. "Thank you for allowing this." Mom's reply was stiff. "I still think she's too young." James looked at Lily with his bright blue eyes. Some truths shouldn't wait. They sat in the living room, Mom perched on the edge of her chair like she might need to intervene at any moment. James opened the photo album. "Lily, I understand you've been doing some detective work." Lily glanced nervously at Mom. "How did you know?" "Betty from the laundromat is an old friend. She called me after you left." He smiled. "Don't worry, your grandmother doesn't know. Yet." "So it's true. Grandma Rose is really Eliza Hampton?" James nodded. Yes, though she used the name Rose Miller when I knew her best. Because she married you? Lily asked. We never officially married. James looked sad. We didn't have time. He turned the album to show a photo of a young couple. The girl was clearly a younger version of Grandma Rose, with dark curly hair and a bright smile. The boy was James, handsome with the same blue eyes he still had now. We met when your grandmother worked at her father's diner, James began. Frank Hampton didn't approve of me. I wasn't good enough for his daughter. Because you were a mechanic, Lily said, remembering the diary. James looked surprised. You know quite a bit already. I found Grandma's diary, Lily admitted. She wrote about you, about her father threatening you. James's face darkened. Frank Hampton was a cruel man. When Eliza, your grandmother, told him she was pregnant, he threatened to have me arrested on false charges unless she gave up both me and the baby. Mom shifted uncomfortably, but remained silent. Instead, we planned to run away together, James continued. The night we were supposed to leave, something terrible happened at the diner. What happened? Lily whispered. Your grandmother had to make the hardest choice anyone could ever make, James said. Before he could explain, Mom stood up suddenly. That's enough, James. This is too much for her. She deserves to know the truth, Catherine, James said firmly. Truth about what? Lily asked, looking between them. About her family, James replied. About who she really is. Mom's face flushed red. You have no right to tell her any of this. Mom, please, Lily begged. I want to know. You think you want to know, Mom said. But some things can't be unheard. James gathered his photos slowly. I understand you want to protect her, Catherine, but secrets have a way of coming out eventually. He looked sadly at Lily. She deserves to know who she really is. I'll tell her when the time is right, Mom insisted. And when will that be? James asked gently. When Rose is gone? When her real grandmother can't explain her choices? Real grandmother! Lily's voice came out as a squeak. What do you mean? Mom and James stared at each other in tense silence. Finally, Mom grabbed her keys from the coffee table. Get your jacket, Lily, she said in a defeated voice. We're going to the nursing home. But if you're going to hear this, Mom interrupted, you should hear it from her. As they headed for the door, Lily looked back at James. Are you coming? He nodded. I'll follow in my car. On the drive to Sunny Pines, Mom gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. I always knew this day would come, she murmured, almost to herself. I just thought you'd be older. Older for what? Lily asked, fear and excitement churning in her stomach. Mom just shook her head. Your grandmother will explain everything. The drive to Sunny Pines felt like the longest of Lily's life. Mom didn't say another word, just stared ahead at the road. When they arrived, James was already waiting in the parking lot. Together, they walked through the nursing home halls. Lily's legs felt wobbly, like they might give out with each step. What truth was so big that Mom wanted to hide it from her? Grandma Rose sat in her usual chair by the window. She looked up as they entered, her smile fading when she saw their serious faces. Catherine? James? What's wrong? Her eyes settled on Lily. Why isn't my sweet girl smiling? Mom sat on the edge of Grandma's bed. She knows parts of it, Mom. About Eliza Hampton. About the baby. Grandma's face went pale. She reached for the gold locket around her neck. How? I found your diary, Lily admitted, and the newspaper about the missing waitress. Grandma looked at James. "You knew?" He nodded. "Betty at the old diner called me. Lily's been doing quite the investigation." To Lily's surprise, Grandma chuckled softly. "Smart as a whip, this one." She patted the footstool beside her. "Sit down, Lily. It's time you heard the whole story." Lily sat, her heart pounding. James took a chair in the corner while Mom stood by the window, arms crossed. Grandma took a deep breath. "I was born Eliza Hampton. My father owned Hampton's Diner, where I worked after high school. That's where I met James." She smiled at James, who returned it with warmth in his eyes. "My father was a controlling man. When James and I fell in love, Dad forbade me from seeing him. But we met in secret anyway." She paused. "And I got pregnant." Lily nodded. The diary mentioned that. "When my father found out, he was furious. He threatened to have James arrested on false charges if I didn't give up the baby. But we had a plan to run away together." Grandma's voice grew softer. "The night we planned to escape, my father caught us at the diner. There was a struggle. He tried to grab me, and James pushed him away. Dad fell and hit his head on the counter. James spoke up. We thought he was dead. There was so much blood. We panicked." Grandma continued. "We fled that night. James took our baby daughter to his cousin in Ohio, where I was supposed to join them a week later. But I never made it," Grandma said, tears forming in her eyes. "When I arrived at the cousin's house, James and the baby were gone. His cousin said men had come asking questions, and James had run to protect the baby." She wiped her eyes. "I was terrified, afraid of being charged with my father's murder, and desperate to hide. I took the name Rose Miller and eventually moved to another town. Years later, I learned my father hadn't died after all. I married Mr. Wilson and became Rose Wilson," Grandma said. "We had Catherine." She nodded toward Mom. "But I never stopped looking for my first baby. For 50 years, I searched. Until James found me." James leaned forward. "I raised our daughter alone, always telling her about her mother. I moved constantly, afraid Frank Hampton would find us. Our daughter grew up, got married, and had a child of her own." Lily's mind raced. "The baby in the locket. It was your first daughter? My mom's half-sister?" A heavy silence filled the room. Mom walked over and took Lily's hands in hers. "No, Lily," Mom said gently. "The woman you think is your mother, me, I'm actually your aunt. I adopted you when you were a baby." The world seemed to tilt beneath Lily. "What? Your real mother, Rose and James's daughter, was named Hannah," Mom explained. "She was my half-sister. I only met her once, when she sought me out after learning about her birth mother. Hannah died in a car accident when you were just 6 months old," James said softly. "Your father had already left, so Catherine took you in." "I raised you as my own," Mom said, tears streaming down her face. "Because that's what family does." Lily struggled to breathe. "So Grandma Rose isn't actually my grandmother?" "No, dear," Grandma Rose said, opening her locket to show the baby picture. "I'm your great-grandmother, and James is your great-grandfather." "That's why he said I look like her," Lily whispered. "I look like my real mom, like Hannah." James nodded. "The very image of her. I found Rose through one of those DNA ancestry websites Catherine had used," James explained. "When I saw the results showing a great-granddaughter named Lily Wilson, I knew I had to find you both. We were going to tell you when you were older," Mom said. "I just wanted you to have a normal childhood first." Lily's mind whirled with questions. The family tree she thought she knew had completely changed in minutes. Grandma Rose was actually Great-Grandma Eliza. Mom was really Aunt Catherine, and her real mother was a woman named Hannah, who had died when Lily was a baby. The locket around Grandma's neck didn't contain a picture of Mom as a baby, but of Hannah, Lily's real mother, the daughter Grandma had lost 50 years ago. "I know it's a lot to take in," Grandma said, squeezing Lily's hand. Lily looked at the three adults in the room, her family history rewritten in an instant. "I think I understand," she said slowly, "but I have so many questions." "We'll answer everything, Mom." "No," Aunt Catherine promised. "No more secrets." James reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folder. "There's one more thing you should know." He handed a document to Grandma Rose, whose hands shook as she read it. "Your father," James said quietly. "He's still alive." Grandma's face drained of color. "Frank? Alive?" James nodded. 98 years old and in Maple Ridge nursing home. That's partly why I came back. To warn you. I thought he might have seen your picture in their newsletter when you moved to Sunny Pines." A new fear crossed Grandma's face. After all these years? The room fell silent as they all absorbed this. Final revelation. The man who had torn their family apart half a century ago was still alive, just across town. "What happens now?" Lily asked, her voice small in the heavy quiet. Grandma Rose looked from James to Catherine to Lily, then squared her shoulders. "Now, we decide together, as a family. All of us. That's the end of our story. Granddaughter stunned when stranger reveals truth about Grandma's secret past. I hope you enjoyed following Lily's journey as she uncovered the truth about her family. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this one. Don't forget to share with your friends and family to spread kindness and awareness. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back with another heartwarming story soon.